Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal. I'm Tyler Keevy, a third-generation trucker, and my purpose is simple: to make sure the definition of trucking doesn't get lost in the culture this industry is drifting toward. This podcast is about real stories, the hard lessons, and the standards that built this business long before apps and algorithms. If you believe trucking is more than freight and its responsibility, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Keep Trucking Personal. Last week, we talked about a way a driver looks at health and through what he eats and why he eats it. And for him, it wasn't even so much about the physical side of it. It was just the fact of what you're putting into your body. And for him, it allowed him to eat limitless amounts of meat. And so I encourage you to go back and listen to last week's episode. It's a different tone. It's something that even had me kind of like, wow, I didn't realize that, and looking at different options. So a super cool episode last week. Go ahead, check it out. You won't be let down. As this episode is airing, we're right in the middle of Brake Safety Week. And as I've really focused on each one of these DOT blitzes this year, it feels like it's almost been repetitive, but the DOT are on the hunt, and they've done these blitzes continuously. And so law enforcement on this one is paying extra attention to commercial vehicles and the brake systems, okay? And for our Keevy drivers, we're once again going to double our payouts. So we've done that for every single blitz. Doesn't matter if it's a 72-hour blitz or a full week. We're going to double the payouts. It's super important that we recognize drivers that are putting the effort in and doing a good pre-trip, okay? Knowing their equipment and making sure it's right. But here's what I've been thinking about as, like I said, these episodes almost feel like they've been every other week because there's been so many blitzes. Why should we care about Brake Safety Week and change anything about how we operate, right? Why should we care so much about it? But is anything going to change, or should we change anything about us? And we shouldn't just suddenly care more about our brakes because there's an increased chance of getting inspected. We should care because doing it is right, and it's what we do as a company. And that brings me to what I really want to talk about today, and that's discipline. Okay, that's the foundation and the core of this one. And I think sometimes we make discipline way more complicated than it needs to be. Discipline is simply doing what you're supposed to do. It's as simple as that. And the hardest part here is, catch this, even when you don't feel like doing it. That's why discipline is hard for many. And it's doing the pre-trip when you're already running behind. Okay, all of a sudden your 10 is up. You got 5 minutes to go and you're starting to rush and you're just hitting the lights if you even do it, right? All of a sudden you're hitting the lights and you're gone. And it's checking your securement that one more time or paying attention every single time you stop. Had a cool little opportunity. It wasn't nothing fancy or big, but last week when I was driving, had a sweet Peterbilt pass me. He had an RGN with a big fire truck loaded on it, and his headache rack door was open. And it was his passenger one, and it was just flapping. And so, I don't know how many people he had passed. I don't know how long he'd been on the road. I jumped on the CB, called out his company name, let him know his headache rack door was open. Boof. He said, "Thanks, man. Appreciate it." Jumped off on the next exit and took care of it. Now, does that mean he didn't do a good pre-trip? I doubt it. I mean, those things rattle. But it was definitely like, hey, you got to look out for each other too. So this mindset isn't just on your truck. It could be on people passing you. You see something that's way off, let them know. If they don't respond, that's up to them. But it's your chance to continually give back, right? And this continues to move forward, right? This is slowing down when you're tempted to push. This one hits me hard. It's hard when you're motivated to get the job done and you want to get it done quickly. You just are pushing it. You're pushing the rev limiter all the time and you're pushing the envelope all the time. You're running 628 miles right up to your 11. I get it. Like, that's what we preach. That's what we want. That's the driver mindset that comes with a top level driver. Sometimes you just got to know, you got to roll it back a little bit. You got to take that time and just plan ahead when you can. Okay. It's hard to do. Like I said, that's behind me. Even my trip to Minnesota it felt like I was up against the gun and I had nothing to rush for. I had my time planned. Everything was good. But it just, in my mind, I was like, don't back off. Don't even pull over to use the restroom. Like, just stay locked in. And sometimes you got to break that habit. It's telling the truth when you screwed up, when you screwed something up. I don't know how many times something is simple. It's funny. I have a lot to relate to this right now because I was just driving last week. went and loaded my load in Lexington. Okay. So I grabbed an empty trailer in our Harrodsburg yard and I went up to Lexington. And when I got there, I opened the Conestoga. That's what I had for a trailer. Whole bunch of boards still nailed down, bunch of nails in the deck. So I had to bust every board loose. And I shouldn't say I didn't know that was already there. I saw it when I hooked up. So I grabbed a pry bar from the shop and I intended when I got there, I would do it. But nonetheless, open the Conestoga up, everything's still nailed down, bunch of nails all over in the deck. You guys know those nails don't come out easy. So I spent the time, got all the boards, put it all to the front, went through and pulled every single nail plus some old nails. Like it took me total time of 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. I was already waiting for the forklift to come. And I wanted to make sure that when that trailer was empty, it was left in better shape than when I found it. Just look at, I drew that straw, I picked the trailer, and it was nails in the deck. And so do your part, right? The discipline to finish the job and finish it well, it's hard, right? It's hard to do the right thing when nobody would have known if you didn't. Like I could have easily just kicked those boards loose, made sure the nails were out of the way where I was getting loaded and slammed it shut and took off. It'd have been easy to do that. Let somebody else deal with it, right? That sometimes can be the mindset. Well, change that. Focus on that discipline. You're either cutting corners or you're disciplined. Now, cutting corners is very dangerous to fall into that trap because here's why. Most of the time you get away with it. And that's what makes it so tempting. Skip this, skip something, one less chain. Oh, it didn't matter. I never had any issues. I haul these all the time. All of a sudden now one less chain or one less strap. Oh, I don't have to double secure the front. It's not a big deal. It won't happen to me. I've been driving for 30 years. Sidebar, that's why when drivers that have a clean record for so long, sometimes, I'm not discounting a skilled driver, but sometimes complacency sets in and that's when they're open to the craziest, wildest things that happen and they never expected it. And so you have to stay vigilant. You have to kind of refresh. Where am I getting complacent? Why am I cutting corners here? Why am I pushing the envelope? Why? Check yourself in that aspect. Guys, I'm talking from experience. You do something 10 times and all of a sudden you're like, well, never had anything shift. I'm going to scale it back a little bit. Or I'm trying to push it on PC. Let's see if I get in trouble. All of a sudden you're cutting corners. You're thinking it's not a big deal. And then you get DOT inspected and then your logbook gets tore apart and they're saying, hey, there's an issue on here. And then you start to come to safety and go, I've never been in trouble once, blah, 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 blah. That's cutting corners. And pretty soon that shortcut just becomes your normal, right? It's how it works. We're human. That's how we're wired. And then, like I said, something happens and it could be that inspection. It could be that breakdown because you prolong that fix. Could be a damaged load with a cargo claim. Worst case scenario here, it's an accident. And you don't ever want that to happen because of complacency. Now, check this out. There was a driver that I passed. He was kind of swerving and I'm like, what's going on with this? It was a van driver. What's going on? Window down. When I got closer, his left leg and foot was out the window. And I'm like, I don't even know how you could say you're that complacent to be like, my leg is up out the window and I'm safe to drive an 80,000 pound vehicle. That's complacency and that's cutting corners and it will catch up to you. It's not an if, it's a when. So check any opportunity you can to say, how do I perform at the best level I can? How do I make sure that I'm not cutting corners? Because you don't want to be that guy and something happens, somebody pulls out in front of you, you're not able to react because your body's not in a normal position and boom, there it is. Now think about this the other way, okay? Discipline will build confidence. There's another side to discipline that I really, really like. And when you know you've done your job correctly, you carry yourself differently. That confidence is a superpower. It's a superpower. When you have done it and you've done it above standard, you've done it above what your buddies do it, you've done it above what you see going down the road because you're setting the bar. You're not letting somebody else set the bar. Think about that for a minute. You're setting the bar. You're not letting somebody else set the bar. You carry yourself differently. I know when I've cut corners and I'm going, oof, hope somebody doesn't point this out. Hope somebody doesn't call me out. You feel different. And if that doesn't hit you like that, you've started to cut corners too long and you become complacent. And so when you do things well and you set the bar, you carry yourself differently. And all of a sudden those scale lights come on. You know what you feel like? When you roll into there and you're confident. You're confident. You respect that DOT officer. Next thing you know,
you're walking out of there with a clean inspection because you knew your vehicle, you knew your load, you had a confident mindset, and you answered every question right, and you answered it well. You knew the equipment. You knew how to log into your digital permit book so you could see all your documents. We've sent out so much literature and talked about digital permit book, and the logins are so easy. And we haven't really had any main issues, but we'll get an occasional time where, hey, how do I get into this? Where's my cab card? And we're going like, how can you be that confident in your vehicle if you don't even know where your documents are? Simple things. It's not a big deal until it is. And it's hard. You have to always run through scenario after scenario in your mind and say, what could happen? What could they ask me if I pull into a scale? Did I check the trailer paperwork, even though it's in digital permit book? Is there trailer paperwork, right? Are all my tires good? Is everything working on my walk around? Do the lights look good? Is my dash clean? You know what? This might sound like I'm nitpicking, but this is what DOT officers say. Those are quick red flags from them. They're looking at you before you get to the scale. And if your dash is littered with stuff, it looks like your load's in shambles, your truck looks like it's in shambles, do you think that they're going to want to check you out? That's a high probability, you guys. And so that's where it all comes in. And that's the other side of discipline is it means accountability. You take ownership. Sometimes we are wrong. I'm guilty of this all the time. Sometimes your ego builds up and you just spew things out or you do things incorrectly. It's okay to be wrong. You missed something. You did not know something. Own it. Sometimes maintenance makes mistakes. Operations makes mistakes. Any division in our company is able to make mistakes. You have to own it. Because if we get a citation and it was something we could have prevented, it's not going to do you right to point fingers. Own it. Fix it. Learn from it and get better. Because you can't build a great company, or I like to say I want to build the strongest trucking company. You can't. You can't build that off of a great lie or pointing fingers. If you're constantly looking for someone else to blame, you're not going to get there. You're not going to build that strongest company. And it's important that everybody knows that. Your whole team should know that. The truth matters, especially when the truth is uncomfortable. If you've never been on the end of a call when a customer has a huge, huge plan and you miss that mark, do you know how hard it is to try find a reason that you're not responsible? Do you know how hard that is? To not say it was somebody else's fault. You know how hard it is to just turn that around and say, we made a mistake. We made a mistake. You know what happens usually? The phone call gets quiet because they know that you've just taken ownership. You've taken accountability. It changes the dynamic. You start to work forward. You don't sit here and point fingers and blame game because you walk yourself into a corner of a room and you better have resources to prove that that was the case. If you're lying and your customer finds out, there goes your integrity. And so you can see why it's so important. This plays into the whole theme of Keep Trucking Personal. It's not just about a hit list of this, that, this. It's literally all ties together. You can go back 50 episodes or you can keep listening as we produce these and you're going to understand and hear it that we care about our drivers and we want them to be the best versions of themselves. It takes effort to do this. It does not just happen. The greatest drivers do not just become the greatest drivers and they just stay there. It takes effort. You have to put it in. And it's just so far beyond trucking. It's not about just brakes because it is DOT Blitz week on brakes. It's totally about life. Like it's so much deeper than just the truck. Working out takes discipline. We've talked about getting healthier, eating food like last week's episode, eating consistent food, watching what you're eating, cooking in the truck, buying food ahead of time. Being a good parent takes discipline. Being a good husband or wife takes discipline. Building a career that you're proud of takes discipline. Building a business takes discipline. Most of the things that make us better, you guys, aren't one big decision. It's not just one monumental decision. One monumental decision can point you in a direction that helped you build a special life or a special family. You can see where I'm headed there. But most of the time, hundreds of small decisions that nobody sees. And that's where the people separate themselves. And so you start to become your own standard. And eventually discipline gets to a point where you don't need someone checking on you. You don't need safety telling you to fill your logbook out and put your trailer and shipping documents in there. You don't need dispatch reminding you of your arrival time that you gave them. You don't need the DOT watching you because you're ready. You become your own standard, and you do it right because that's who you are and that's your foundation. And I think that's something worth chasing. It's not perfection, it's discipline. And so, yes, this week is Brake Safety Week. Get those clean inspections, get the double payout. That's something you should take advantage of. But Brake Safety Week, when that ends, don't change anything. Keep checking the truck, keep doing the pre-trip, keep telling the truth, keep holding yourself accountable, keep doing the little things correctly, because eventually the little things become the big things. And remember, this is important. This is the one-liner here. Discipline isn't doing the right thing because somebody is watching. Discipline is doing the right thing because that's your standard. Thanks for listening to Keep Trucking Personal. Stay safe out there.
Appreciate you tuning in. If you got value out of this, subscribe and send it to someone who takes pride in the job. We're not just moving freight, we're shaping the culture. Catch you on the next one.